So, this famous Canadian schooner holds an important story about tech innovation. Here are three learnings that are stamped into every 10-cent Canadian coin. My name is Dr. Ed. I'm just a geek kid who was shown mercy by his grade 7 French teacher. I grew up in the northeast hood of Calgary and next to Pine Ridge. And you don't have to be a Calgarian to know why this community was nicknamed Crime Ridge. It's creativity that got me out of my slump and led me to my doctorate in computer science and over 15 years in educational technology. I'm here to give back as a speaker and diverse decision making coach to innovative school districts and cutting edge organizations. You see, I was first exposed to social AI when I had a YouTube video of my research go viral in 2005, when YouTube started. I wanted to tell you a story about the fastest ship on Earth for more than 20 years. And I thought that a good way to do this would be to start with a video. This is like the kind of like our heritage, the Canadian heritage video. But I like it because I think it gives some context of why this is important. So let's see if I bring this up. Playing. Okay, here we go. So essentially, this is like one of the most historic races that Canada's had. This is the Canadian schooner known as Blue Nose racing against the clock against a competitor. And this is the types of races that it would have. And so like it looks real. I don't know if this is like the actual original footage of the video, but this gives you a sense of like what we're talking about here. So basically, it's sail powered. It is fast, like the fastest thing that could move on the sea. And this kind of victory over time is something that is a really important lesson in innovation. And I really like this. I like this story a lot because I think it really relates to there are it relates to innovation, and it talks about three different aspects of innovation. So if you look at the story, and I'm going to cover those fairly quickly. So the first is, how do you know you're a market leader? Well, the first way that you find out is you find that other people are copying you, right? And so this was a strong indication from the that the Blue Nose 2 was the fastest ship on Earth because there was that one thing that it could do that was better than everything else in the world. It was the fastest schooner because it had a insane, I want to say, like sail to weight ratio. And it was kind of like a race car of its time. And so, of course, it was going to be able to go really fast. It had a very narrow. It was very close to the water. It had a few advantages that let it like be very smooth in the water to help it go much faster than any other ship at the time. And I think that that was important because you know that you're the fastest, you know that you're the best when others are basically trying to copy you. So know that people are copying you. Know if people are trying to do what you're doing. That will give you a sense of if you're moving in the right direction. The second was the tech. So the second lesson is what I call the team was the tech. So we call it team tech. And so, yeah, there were other ships out there that were built that had greater like sail ratios. They had maybe even lighter weight. They still lost for 20 years against the Blue Nose because they didn't have the team. And I speak about this. I spoke about this in my last session, where I talked about how the team is your tech, right? Technology does not have to be just like some electronic thing. Your team is often the technology. So the example I had was a nursing home, which asked, well, what is your unique scale? Like technology, just think of technology as tech is just like whatever you service that you can scale, service that scales, right? And that's really the key is that they understand that with their model, they are able to get in nurses at a lower cost and able to retain them longer than other existing systems. That's a huge competitive advantage. And so knowing what your competitive advantage is going to be is key. Like it's the thing that helps you separate you from all the other things that are out there. And so the other last part, and so I'm gonna quickly get into it, which was um, this technical knowledge, right, within the team is kind of what allowed them to be so efficient, like to adjust the sails, to be able to respond very quickly to changing wind conditions, and that was their advantage over even newer and faster ships. Um, but something happened, of course. Around this time, this is kind of like the 1920s, is when people started moving to diesel ships. And diesel is very different. And so this is a lesson, and this was an important lesson, was to like adapt, like adapting to the market was really important because how you adapt to the market really changes the outcome of the company. And I think that this is, if anything, probably the most important lesson. There were two different methods, right? So when diesel engines came out, they had the option to go towards copying the diesel engine. That was one option. But the end result of copying the diesel engine was what? The end result was that they essentially became a commodity, right? And that is the challenge. Like it kind of made it less viable. Why would people want to spend money on this thing? It's because it basically became a commodity at that point, and so that had consequences. The other, which is what happened with Blue Nose 2 when they recreated it, was they went back for like essentially as a symbol, right? Like a symbol of pride for Canadians. And that is exactly why, like, if you pick up any Canadian 10-cent coin, it has this schooner on it, the Blue Nose 2. And so essentially, they went for the market that everyone else was going for, which is the general fishing market. By installing a diesel engine, they're able to compete in that space and they can still run for a few more years. But it doesn't have any interest because it's become a commodity. And so nobody really wants to, like, even if the ship breaks, for example, they don't want to maintain it. That legacy is not going to stay. Whereas when it became a symbol, people are like, no, I'm going to make Blue Nose 2 and I'm going to make it in exactly the same way without the diesel engine. And then it became something that was unique, something that stood out, something that separated them from the competition. So you have a choice when it comes to innovation. If there's a new innovation, you don't have to follow what everyone else is doing, is the main lesson that I took from seeing and learning about Blue Nose 2. And so, what was your biggest takeaway on this? Because I think that, this is a really important message that a lot of people don't take often enough, is that it matters. It really, really matters which method you use when it comes to technology innovation. I already mentioned the statistics before. You're going to expect probably 2, 3 major technology shifts in your career that are going to just change everything in your space. That's like based on just the numbers from the S&P 500. Average time of lifespan for these companies is like 15 years. So that's important. It's important to recognize. And you need to look at, well, what are you going to do in the event that you do get changed in terms of the innovation that is available. Now, that's the main message I have for today. And of course, if you guys have like questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. Oh no, that's not the one. Where is it? Ah, there it is. You can pop any questions, comments. I'm always here to answer them. But before I go, I want to tell you about technology. I mean, the reason that it matters is technology is just how you serve people at scale. Knowing what you can scale helps you stand out in a sea of different features. And you want to care about this because when we do this wrong, our offer does become a commodity, as you just saw in that story. And you want to also take this seriously because every organization that fails for the same reason. They fail to compete. And if you don't innovate, it's just a matter of time before others catch up. And if they catch up, it's easy to fall off course, to just follow the leader. And then you'll head towards a vision that's not yours. You'll be working towards the vision of your competitor, right? Like if you started working towards the diesel engine, you're going to be working towards the vision of the diesel engine. And then you replace your why with your competitor's why. And then you put yourself in a creative prison of your own making, right? You put yourself in the situation of always trying to catch up, always trying to do what other people are already doing. But you don't have to worry about that because I coach change leaders to get out of creative prison by speaking on the 7 fundamental technology first principles. These are just simple things that principles, like first principles that if you know, make understanding technology way easier and everything that you see in tech way less confusing. So it becomes way less scary for you or anyone in your organization. I also show companies how to position your offering as high end and high ticket because you don't want to be in the commodity space. Like if you do want to be in the commodity space and compete on price, then I'm probably not the guy for you. But if you want to be on the premium level, if you want to be positioned as a high end luxury product, then you definitely need to have those differentiators. And the last is you want to be able to find and attract your ideal clients with a camera presence that separates you from everyone else on the market. Right? There are lots of people who can just throw up a webcam and start talking about stuff. But you really want something that's going to set you out, not just different for other people, but also different from the perspective of the AI that is the gatekeeper for attention. And I'm launching an advanced course on May 24th called Camera Presence Creator to position your videos for both your ideal prospects and that social media AI that controls attention. And you can learn more about it by scheduling a call with me or one of my phenomenal geniuses at aiparenting.live/meet. You can pick a time and you can lock it in right now. But before I go, I want to give you a gift. I want to give you something that is going to be a useful lesson. So for anyone who books that meeting, aiparenting.live/meet, I'm going to give you those 7 fundamental principles that I talked about. I want you to know what they are. I think more people should be aware of what those first principles are, just because it just makes everything that we see in terms of technology much more clear. Where is the technology going to go? It kind of gives you a roadmap for where things have been and where things will go in the future. That's my time. Thanks. I'm Dr. Ed. I will see you all soon.